Hello friends, this is Dr. John WorldPeace coming to you from the land of enchantment, Albuquerque, New Mexico, home of the atomic bomb and the ETs. This commentary is titled, What is Wrong with Americans? I'm Dr. John WorldPeace JD, the independent maverick candidate for president in 2028. I'm an independent voter, not a Republican or Democrat. I'm the only global advocate for peace and world peace in the world human society. I am the only advocate for Jesus Christ per John 14:26. No Christian preacher or priest has challenged me on this since I changed my name in 1988. I'm a follower of the teachings of Jesus, but I am not a corporate religionist of any stripe. I was in college 1966 to 70. I was a political science major and was in my last year I took 27 hours of political science. There were protests everywhere over the Vietnam War and civil rights. These two issues dominated the news every night. Americans were on fire. After graduation, I was in the Army 2 months later, trained as an infantry sergeant for Vietnam, but sent to the NATO forces in SETAF, SETAF, Southern European Task Force, and stationed in Vicenza, Italy. Luck of the draw that I didn't go to Vietnam. I'm not a yellow-bellied draft dodger like Trump and Musk, and neither was my father or my 3 Marine sons, or my family back to the French and Indian Wars before the Revolutionary War, and also in the Revolutionary War and in the Civil War on the southern side. There's a war between Ukraine and Russia, which Russia started. What motivated Putin to invade Ukraine? That's very simple. He took the Crimea in 2014 with no pushback. So he decided to push into Ukraine. The Europeans have seen unchallenged aggression played out by Hitler until he moved into Poland. Then the world caught fire in Europe against Hitler and in Asia against Japan. You saw Joe Biden's nickel and dime response to Putin, same with NATO. There should have been an immediate response with weapons of mass destruction sent to Ukraine. No one could have had any question as to what Putin was going to do. But the response was minimalist. 3 years have gone by. North Korea has put troops in Ukraine, and NATO did not make it clear that that was a bright line that was crossed, and the NATO and USA troops should have poured into Ukraine. Putin globalized the war with Korea, opening the door for NATO and the USA to enter the war. But it did not happen. So here we are 3 years later. The option is still there. NATO takes in Ukraine, and the NATO forces start moving toward Ukraine. And the announced objective from NATO should have been clear. Russia out of Ukraine, out of the Crimea, but the response was and still a limp wrist and not an iron fist. Now we have a bozo motel mogo president saying yesterday that Ukraine started the war. Give me a break. Not a single pushback from the major news networks. Putin determined to push the West to see what happened, and his answer was nothing to worry about from NATO or the USA. The message today to Putin is clear. He can have Ukraine and giant chunks of Europe until he's got all of it. There's only one peace solution, Putin out of Ukraine and Crimea. Nothing that the motel man, Trump, can propose less than that. This demand is on the table. America and NATO have sat back without a determined response and watched the meat grinder that is Ukraine go on for 3 years. By the way, I, John WorldPeace, am the only global peace advocate in the world, but I am not by any definition a pacifist. The nature of Homo sapiens sapien DNA is predatory aggression, and the nature of capitalism and communism is the same. So why the limp wrist response in Ukraine? Two general responses. Biden and now Trump want to give all their support to the Zionists, and neither could afford a significant response in Ukraine without cutting into the weapons of mass destruction to the USA's Zionist Holocaust in Gaza. And at the end of the presidency, Biden proudly exclaimed that he had always been a Jew. Trump wants a green light on God only knows how many of his motels in the land of Russia. Trump's Ukraine deal for Russia is Putin gets all the land he controls in Ukraine, and Trump gets 10 motels in Russia. The USA would only lead off in Ukraine with money and weapons of defense, not weapons of mass destruction. The European NATO wimps would not take the lead against Putin, even though it was Europe that was going to be destroyed by Putin and not the USA. That said, what's the position of the Democrats? The show horse Kamala went into hiding after being kicked to the curb permanently in the last presidential election. If there was ever a dog and pony show, the Democrats put it on with Kamala's candidacy. Even the show horse of all show horses, Oprah Winfrey, could not prop up the Biden yes-woman Kamala. And there is a fact that America has shown it is reasserting a Trump MAGA white is right resurgence, so don't even think about a less than white male, not Zionist candidate in 2028. Definitely a white male. So will Trump cut a big motel deal with Putin and sell out Ukraine, NATO, and America? Or will the war just go on with all of America's money and arms going to the USA, Zionist, genocide, Holocaust in Gaza, and none, and just lip service to Ukraine? In America, 17 million Zionists call the shots in a nation of 335 million not Zionists. And those Zionists would have a dual citizenship in America and Israel without declaring that their loyalty is to America. And just so you do not forget and call me anti-Semitic, let me remind you that Ishmael Muslim Arabs are the Semitic brothers of the Isaac Semitic Jews. And based on Gaza, the most rabid anti-Semitics on the planet are Zionist Jews, as evidenced by their Holocaust in Gaza and now moving into the West Bank. Yes, friends, it's time for someone else to take over and shut down the increasing chaos that the Trump MAGA America has created and is increasing daily, and the chaos in the world human society. The full text of this is below, along with the place to GoFundMe to send money. All that money, 95% of it's going to advertise world peace, not to build me a mansion or buy me a new car, which I don't own and haven't for 10 years. I ride a motorcycle. But that's another video. Have a good day.